It is day 2 of the Sean Diddy Combs federal trial. Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, she is one of Combs' many accusers, testifying as a central witness.
Is she ready?
Very ready and confident. Thank you.
Among other things, the singer is expected to address the 2016 video of Combs attacking her in a hotel when she was his girlfriend.
He was once hailed as a music mogul, a kingmaker, and a symbol of success in the hip-hop world. But yesterday, that powerful image took a serious hit when Cassie Ventura spoke in court. As she shared her testimony, the courtroom atmosphere shifted. Reporters who had covered countless trials were visibly moved by her words. Diddy, once the mastermind behind a music empire, appeared visibly shaken as Cassie spoke in detail about their past and the challenges she faced. It was a rare moment of vulnerability that gave the world a new perspective on a man once seen as untouchable.
You walked in there, Rachel. She had on a brown dress, form-fitting, visibly pregnant, head held high, and did not make any eye contact with the defendant, with Sean Combs. She said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on to the lighting in the room to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex with. And again, just to reiterate what is a freak-off, the freak-off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism, wanting to watch her have sex with someone else. And she said that she did it because she was 22, 21, she was young, she didn't know any better, and that she wanted to please Sean Combs.
Among other things, the singer is expected to address the 2016 video of Combs attacking her in a hotel when she was his girlfriend. Combs has pleaded not guilty. His attorneys argue the video is evidence of jealousy, not sex trafficking. And now for the first time, jurors are hearing what Cassie has to say about that and other aspects of their 10-year relationship.
For decades, Sean Diddy Combs moved through the music industry like a force of nature, and rightfully so. He built Bad Boy Records from the ground up, helped launch the careers of major artists, and expanded his influence into fashion, spirits, and media. On paper, Diddy was the blueprint for turning hip-hop into a business empire. But now, the carefully curated image is being closely examined. As Cassie Ventura gave her testimony in court, the contrast between the public persona and the private reality she described left many in the courtroom stunned. While magazines celebrated Diddy as a business icon and fans applauded his every move, Cassie was reportedly living a very different experience behind the scenes. The man known for tailored suits, polished interviews, and flawless public appearances appeared composed when he entered the courtroom for day 2, surrounded by a high-profile legal team, nodding and occasionally smiling as if headed into a business meeting. But that calm exterior began to shift the moment Cassie began to speak. Witnesses described a visible change in Diddy's demeanor. Within minutes of the testimony beginning, his usual confidence seemed to fade. His legal team raised multiple objections, trying to manage the flow of the hearing, but Cassie remained composed as she shared her account. Courtroom observers noted Diddy's body language, fidgeting with his tie and cufflinks, shifting in his seat, and passing hurried notes to his attorneys. One reporter said it was like watching someone lose control of their own narrative for the first time. Another said he looked physically overwhelmed by the moment. As the day went on and Cassie continued to speak, it became clear why the atmosphere was so tense. The details she provided, though not shared publicly in full, were serious enough to potentially reshape the way the world sees one of music's most influential figures. For years, Diddy shaped the stories around him, but now he's facing one that he can't edit, spin, or produce.
At some point in time, she actually had said that she looked forward to the freak-offs. Why did Cassie express looking forward to these said freak-offs?
When the prosecution asked her, was there ever a time that you enjoyed the freak-offs? This is when Cassie got choked up and she said, I did, but only because I got to spend one-on-one time with Combs, and I really did love him.
And that is speaking to the psychological abuse, in addition to the physical abuse that she potentially experienced.
Yeah, she's definitely laying out someone who was young, who was influenced by wanting to have this record career. She signed a 10-album deal with Bad Boy Entertainment, led by Sean Combs, and basically describes being enamored by Sean Combs, loving him, not knowing about certain things sexually, and him sort of telling her, teaching her about that. And what you hear is someone that was young and she even said, you know, I was young, I was naive, I didn't know any better. But she's really telling the story of someone who thought she was going to be with someone in this music industry that was going to help her career, that cared about her, but quickly learned after the freak-offs that wasn't the case. And what I thought was also interesting is she said that after that first freak-off, she said she felt dirty. She didn't want to do it. And when she brought up the idea of having a conversation about the freak-offs in an email, which the jurors saw, she said she backpedaled in the email because Combs responded by saying, "I know, you don't want to do it." And she said, "Oh no, well, it's not that." But that was the beginning. That was in 2010, where she brings up in an email that she wanted to have a conversation about this. And in her words, she didn't want to do it, but she felt like she had to do it.
Well, Diane, prosecutors have wasted no time getting right into the alleged abuse that Cassie Ventura says she endured for years. Ventura telling jurors, quote, "He would bash my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head when I was down." She also got into the nature of those so-called freak-offs, saying that they involved hiring an escort and they performed under the direction of Combs, saying that they happened so frequently it eventually became a job for her to set them up. Ventura said she did not feel she had much of a choice but to participate, that she feared that Combs would retaliate or potentially blackmail her if she did not. And she's had at times to she's taken deep breaths, pausing her testimony, Combs appearing to be listening pretty passively with his hands in his lap.
When Cassie Ventura took the stand, the courtroom fell completely silent. Everyone knew her testimony would be significant, but no one, not even Diddy's legal team, seemed prepared for what was to come. After years of silence, Cassie finally had her chance to speak. She began quietly recounting how she first met Diddy at the age of 19. At that time, he was already a powerhouse in the music world, wealthy, influential, and deeply connected. She was a young model with dreams of becoming a recording artist. From the start, the imbalance of power between them was clear. According to Cassie, Diddy was fully aware of that dynamic and knew how to use it. Her testimony built slowly, drawing the courtroom in. She first spoke about the small ways control began to appear in their relationship, how he allegedly insisted on knowing where she was at all times, and how he would sometimes appear unexpectedly when she was with friends. Then she described the professional side, how her music career became entangled with personal expectations. Cassie claimed he would interfere with collaborations and even threatened to delay or shelve her music if she didn't meet certain demands. The courtroom's attention sharpened further when she described how he allegedly used technology to monitor her. According to Cassie, he had installed tracking software on her phone, allowing him to know her location in real time. She testified that over time he isolated her from friends and those who might encourage her to leave, until, she claimed, he was the only person left in her support system. The courtroom grew tense. The judge called for order multiple times as Diddy reportedly reacted visibly, whispering to his lawyers, shaking his head, and displaying signs of agitation that were hard to miss. Then came a turning point. Cassie handed her phone to her attorney, who presented a series of messages and emails, projected on a screen for the entire courtroom. These messages, according to transcripts, include apologies and statements that contradicted public comments made on Diddy's behalf. His reaction was one of shock, as if he hadn't expected her to have held onto the records. But that moment was only the beginning. Cassie went on to describe deeply troubling experiences from their relationship, including instances of emotional and physical mistreatment. Her account moved several jurors visibly, and even seasoned courtroom reporters admitted they were struck by the raw emotion and detail of her words. And all of this, was still leading to what she described as the most pivotal event in the case. An incident at a hotel that, according to legal experts present, could change the course of the trial entirely.
Relationship with Diddy. Some of those details we've seen in prior lawsuits, but to hear her on the stand actually giving those details, reliving those moments herself. Also, you have to remember, she's very pregnant right now. So I'm gonna be curious to see how long she makes it on the stand, how she's emotionally able to weather all of these questions. And what's going to be interesting to watch is, the defense from the very start in their opening statement said that she chose to be there. So I'm going to be curious to see how she responds to questions about, was this her choice or did she feel like she had to do all of these things?
I think what made Cassie emotional is having to describe the details of the freak-off and why she did it. When she talked about wanting to do it to please Sean Combs, that's when she broke down. Up until that point, she had just been answering the questions. She's a little soft-spoken at times, but that's when she got emotional. When she had to answer the question about if she enjoyed it, that's when she broke down, because she said, "I enjoyed being with Sean Combs." And she says, "I did it because it made him happy."
What did the expressions of the jurors look like?
The jurors are laser focused on what Cassie has to say. And that's to be expected, right? Because she is the person who will likely be on the stand, according to attorneys, for 2, maybe 3 days. She's the one that was in the relationship with Sean Combs for over 10 years. So she's got a lot to say, and she's just getting started.
Just how important is Cassie's testimony to the prosecution?
I think it really connects the dots, Rachel. When you look at that initial indictment and what's being alleged, she really is the person that has probably the most information about this idea that the prosecution says, which is creating a criminal enterprise for Sean Combs' sexual desires. Something else that the jurors saw today that sort of connects it back to this alleged criminal enterprise are 7 photos of people that were very close to Sean Combs, one even his former chief of staff. And these were all people that Cassie Ventura was able to name and explain the functions in terms of what they did: security, driver, chief of staff, someone that handled financials. So it's showing that she knew some of these people, again, because she was with him, around him for so long.
I thought I was going to die that night, Cassie said, her voice barely audible. The courtroom leaned in, hanging on every word as she began to recount an event that had never been made public. Not in the press, not by fans, not even by the rumor mill. This incident, which Cassie referred to as the hotel episode, had remained buried for years. She explained she had kept it secret out of fear. Fear for her safety, for her career, and fear that no one would believe her over someone as powerful and respected as Diddy. But now, sitting on the witness stand, Cassie chose to speak openly. She testified that the night began like many others, an industry after-party, casual conversations, and public appearances. But she said the mood shifted quickly after Diddy allegedly became upset when he saw her speaking with another music executive. His expression changed, his grip on her arm tightened. And, according to Cassie, behind the composed smile he showed the crowd, he whispered threats that made her feel unsafe. Cassie then described how she was allegedly pulled through the hotel lobby toward the elevators, struggling to keep her composure. She claimed hotel security briefly intervened, but recognizing Diddy, simply asked if everything was fine. He didn't even ask me if I was okay, Cassie recalled. What came next stunned the courtroom. Her legal team presented photos taken the morning after the incident, personal snapshots showing visible injuries. Though not professionally taken, the photos captured in a mirror with a shaky hand carried undeniable weight. Cassie explained she had taken them for one reason: to have proof in case no one believed her. Diddy's legal team immediately objected, challenging the validity and timing of the evidence. But the judge ruled to admit the photos, and they were shown to the jury. The reaction in the courtroom was immediate and emotional. One juror covered her mouth in disbelief. 2 others turned their heads away. Another was seen writing notes with a trembling hand. This was the moment no one had anticipated. A revelation not mentioned in previous filings or statements. Even Diddy's legal team appeared unprepared, their expressions reflecting the weight of the testimony. Cassie continued, describing how the situation escalated behind closed doors. She recounted property damage, aggressive behavior, and being kept isolated without her phone for an extended period. Her testimony painted a picture of fear, control, and deep emotional distress. As this chapter of her testimony concluded, all eyes turned to Diddy. His expression in that moment, silent, unsettled, and exposed, may become one of the most defining images of the entire trial. This moment, according to observers, could reshape not just the case, but the public's perception of a man long seen as untouchable in the music world.
What the defense is going to say is that this wasn't blackmail, this was not coercion, this was consensual. We know that Cassie started out with Sean Combs as an early person, with someone who is trying to get her career started, and he was going to help her. That's what the defense is going to say, that she was starting out and wanted someone to support her. They did their first record deal together. That's something I think the defense is going to focus on, and had it not been for Sean Combs, she wouldn't be where she is right now. The prosecution obviously is saying he was in control. It may have started out as a consensual, it may have started out with her being excited about seeing him, but ultimately he took control of that relationship. He took control of her career. This is their key witness, and she's on that stand trying to explain all of the charges that the prosecution wants to hit home with that jury.
No, there was a moment early on when Cassie mentioned Dallas Austin, who she called a friend, who's a producer. So I don't know if that's someone that we're going to hear from. We know that there were pictures shown to prospective jurors that are well-known celebrities, you know, Kanye West, Kid Cudi, Lauren London. We don't know, though, how they fit yet into why they were even asked, do you know these people? Are you familiar with them?
So the prosecution is questioning Cassie right now, still questioning
Yeah,
her.
the defense hasn't even got a chance to. I mean, that might change based on the timing, but you know, because she's such a key witness, it's likely that she will be on that stand the rest of the day. We learned that Cassie referred to him as Pop Pop, and Sean Combs would refer to her as CC. The prosecution says, "What does CC stand for?" She said Cassie Combs.
What kind of witness is Cassie coming off as to the jurors?
I think naturally when you look at her visually, people see that she's pregnant and looking like she's due any day now. So they might, you know, have empathy, sympathy for her in that way, but we don't really know. We know that they've been instructed to be fair and impartial. As to what type of witness she's coming off as, she's describing someone that she was, someone she said that was trying to figure out who she was at that time and who she was allowed to be. Now you're looking at somebody that's almost 40 years old, totally different person, but even in describing what was going on at her at that time, taking drugs, trying to please Sean Combs, she's really just sort of laying out the case for her not having a lot of control. So I think that's the takeaway. This is someone who is making it very clear that at that particular time in her life, she says she did not have any control really over what she wore, what she did, who she was having sex with. She's a different person now. But I think when she talks about those details and even reflecting on them for herself, as we saw today.
It was the moment no one in that courtroom would forget. Diddy, a man known for decades as calm, collected, and unshakable, appeared to lose control in front of everyone. The persona he had so carefully crafted, that of the polished mogul who never cracked under pressure, began to visibly fall apart. As Cassie's testimony unfolded, the shift in the room was palpable. Reporters and legal observers who had covered hundreds of high-profile cases noted they'd never seen anything quite like it. With each new allegation, Diddy seemed to physically shrink, the confidence he exuded earlier that day slowly giving way to visible distress. According to those present, his legal team was working overtime. One attorney was seen placing a hand on his arm in a calming gesture, and at one point a note was passed across the table. It reportedly read, "Stay calm," in all caps. But the efforts weren't enough. Tension peaked when Cassie recounted a particular incident at Diddy's Hamptons property. As she described it, Diddy struck the courtroom table with his hand, the sound echoing through the room. The judge immediately addressed him, "Mr. Combs, if you cannot control yourself, I will have you removed from this courtroom." For a moment, it seemed like he might be. Throughout the testimony, observers saw Diddy shaking his head, mouthing denials like that's not true, seemingly forgetting the jury was watching his every move. One court attendee described it as watching someone who had always controlled the narrative suddenly realize he no longer could. For years, Diddy allegedly maintained control over every aspect of Cassie's life. But now, on that witness stand, she had the floor, and he couldn't mute her, interrupt her, or edit what she said. The dynamic had shifted entirely. Then came what many called the most pivotal moment, the introduction of audio recordings. Cassie's lawyer played a clip in which a man, alleged to be Diddy, could be heard making threats. The courtroom froze. Diddy stood up, visibly agitated, and shouted across the room, "You know that's not how it happened." His attorneys rushed to his side, attempting to bring him back to his seat. It reportedly took multiple members of his legal team to calm him. The judge called for an immediate recess. But the damage was done. Everyone had seen it. His composure was gone. The surprises weren't over. Cassie revealed that she had long been documenting her experiences, saving messages, emails, photos, all stored safely beyond Diddy's reach. The courtroom grew even quieter when she testified that she also had messages from others, well-known figures who had witnessed concerning behavior and had reached out to her privately. These weren't anonymous industry voices. According to court transcripts, they included longtime collaborators, high-profile artists, and personal friends of Diddy. A text from a major rapper read, "You okay? What I saw tonight wasn't right. You can stay at my place if you need to." A female pop star wrote, "I've known him for 15 years, and I've never seen him act like that with anyone else. This isn't normal. Please call me." Perhaps most telling was a message from a veteran producer who had worked with Diddy for years. "I can't be around this anymore. I told him to get help. Call me when you're safe." These messages contradicted public statements made by Diddy's team that no one had ever witnessed problematic behavior and that this was simply a private dispute. Then came Diddy's own messages. Screenshots presented in court showed apparent acknowledgments of past incidents. "I'm sorry about last night. You know how I get when I drink. It won't happen again, Raid 1. Another text offered material compensation. "Whatever you need to make this right. Just name it. New car, new apartment, whatever you want." A third message appeared to propose a payoff in exchange for silence. "My lawyer can draw up the paperwork tomorrow, $2 million. Clean break. You don't talk about anything from the past 5 years. As these messages were read aloud, something unexpected happened in the gallery. Members of Diddy's entourage began leaving the courtroom, one by one. The show of support he had walked in with that morning had quietly disappeared. By the end of the day, Diddy sat nearly alone at his table, just him and his legal team. The man who had entered the courtroom as one of music's most powerful figures left looking visibly shaken, his once commanding presence now dimmed. The courtroom's security, his attorneys, and his fame could not shield him from what had just unfolded. Cassie Ventura did more than tell her story that day. She introduced evidence, clear, verifiable, and deeply impactful, that could change the course of Diddy's legal future and potentially rewrite his public legacy. As the second day of testimony ended, it was clear. The question was no longer whether Diddy could win the case. It was whether his reputation could survive it.